Hello and welcome back. Markets down across the board this morning. I think it's fair to say in no small part due to the escalating and uncertain situation in the Middle East. As we know, fear, uncertainty and doubt can all be great opportunities for us to get into the markets at lower prices and enjoy more upside if we see the potential for that upside in the future. The opportunity I want to talk about today is not in fact in Bitcoin, but let's get into that in just a second and start by looking at the charts. So Bitcoin down again over the last 24 hours. As you can see, after that initial bounce from 60,100, we came up to retest this key zone at 62.2. Again, that was our former support. Now it's providing resistance. We knew that that was going to happen because we looked at the order book and we could see that there was a lot of liquidity that had now slipped down. First, it slipped down beneath 65K, and then it moved down further down the book beneath 62.3, 62. And as you can see, we came up from 61, tapped that range, got sold off again, came up, spiked in here with this wick, back a little bit higher this time into 62.350, and then sold off heavily again after that. Right now, a little bit of a bounce of around 2.38% from the low put in at $60,000, but market is still looking pretty heavy. And if we look over to our fear and greed index, as you can see, we are down on yesterday. Markets are scared. We are now fully in fear at a score of 37, down from 42 yesterday. As we know, a lot of short positions have entered the market. You can see this in the imbalance on the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map. I'm looking at CoinGlass over here. So uncertain geopolitical situation. We've had some liquidations in the last couple of days, and we know that there is a lot of short interest in the derivatives market right now. The net effect of that is the market is scared, the market's in fear, and prices are down. But today's video is not about Bitcoin. Today's video is about an alt where I could see even more opportunity to capitalize on this downside, because we've got some specific news about Ripple, which has absolutely hammered the price in the last 24 hours. So let me bring you up to speed on the Ripple situation, and then we can talk about the breaking piece of news, which I think presents a massive, massive opportunity. So around 13 hours ago, we actually had some very bullish news in the form of Bitwise filing for the first Form S1 for an XRP ETF with the US SEC. Bitwise has officially filed for the first spot XRP exchange-traded fund with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Subject to approval from the SEC, the Bitwise Spot XRP ETF would provide exposure to the value of XRP held directly by the trust. Of course, that is a key step in the race for the next spot crypto ETF following Bitcoin and ETH. Why is that important? It would allow institutional investors to get exposure to Ripple without actually buying Ripple, the underlying asset, in turn bringing a lot more institutional capital to the market and increasing demand. And on October the 1st, a couple of days ago, Ripple announced that they had received an in-principle license approval from the Dubai Financial Service Authority, which would allow the firm to establish a presence in the region. On top of that, we saw the news in the early hours of this morning that the SEC Enforcement Director Grewal would be leaving the agency. During his 3-year tenure as Enforcement Director at the SEC, he authorized more than 2,400 enforcement matters, leading to over $20 billion in disgorgement and civil penalties, and handed out over $1 billion worth of awards to whistleblowers. And that includes authorizing more than 100 enforcement actions directly addressing non-compliance with crypto matters. So Grewal was notorious for bringing draconian enforcement actions against the crypto industry, having suggested more than 100 separate enforcement actions during his tenure. So what's changed? Well, within the last 6 hours, we got the news that the SEC had filed a notice of appeal against the landmark 2023 verdict set by Judge Annalisa Torres, which established that secondary sales of Ripple's XRP token did not constitute security sales. That ruling came after a legal battle which started all the way back in 2020 and was considered a massive win, not just for Ripple, but for the crypto industry as a whole. And the market is treating this essentially as a step back in that legal battle, because the SEC has now filed to appeal that decision back from 2023. So as we can see, markets have indeed responded. Liquidations in the Ripple market down around 10% over the last 24 hours, down over 1% within the last hour. Honestly though, I don't think this is going to go anywhere, and I think that combined with the discount that is provided in the markets presents a really, really big opportunity to get into Ripple if you believe in the utility, if you believe in it long term, and if you're someone who thinks that crypto is going to win over regulation in the future as a whole. As I say, this isn't a case just for Ripple. This is a case for crypto as a whole in many ways. Tweet here from Brad Garlinghouse, CEO at Ripple. If Gensler and the SEC were rational, they would have moved on from this case long ago. It certainly hasn't protected investors and instead has damaged the credibility and the reputation of the SEC. Somehow they still haven't gotten the message. They lost everything that matters. Ripple, the crypto industry, and the rule of law have already prevailed. The SEC's decision to appeal is disappointing but not surprising. It just prolongs what's already a complete embarrassment for the agency. The court already rejected the SEC's suggestion that Ripple acted recklessly, and there were no allegations of fraud, and of course there were no victims or losses. The agency under this chair continues to engage in litigation warfare against the industry. We're evaluating whether to file a cross appeal. Either way, the SEC's lawsuit has been irrational and misguided from the start, and we're ready to prove that yet again in the court, once again taking the lead for the industry. Coincidence that the SEC's enforcement director announced his resignation about an hour before this? So to summarize, appeal against a massive win for XRP, a massive win for Ripple, a massive win for crypto back in 2023. It's technically speaking bad news, right? People have to respond to that, the markets have to respond to that, and clearly that resulted in a big slip in price. The truth is, it doesn't look to me like this is going to go anywhere, and that combined with something like a 10% reduction in XRP price presents a pretty massive opportunity, as I say, if you're someone who is interested in Ripple, if you're interested in XRP, and if you're interested in potentially the industry as a whole. As always, just my opinion, just my take, not financial advice. Plenty more to come. Catch you in the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.